welcome to a Ripple Effect Talk Radio. This is your host, Lisa Bullard, and today is Sunday, March 18th, and I am so glad that you can join us today. Our guest is the amazing gentleman, and he is going to be coming on hold in just a little while, but before we put him live, I just want to tell you a little bit about the program and how we came to be. So a Ripple Effect Talk Radio came about as a result of my book, Ripple Effect, the novel. We received a lot of feedback from people who were looking for an opportunity to share about real-life situations, dreams, endeavors, and to get some insight and inspiration from grounded professional people. So we started this talk radio program, which is airing every week on Sunday at noon Eastern. Now, our guests vary from professionals, entertainers, artists, authors, and one of the people that we have on today is an amazing, amazing gentleman. I'm going to keep talking a little bit to give him a chance to get all connected with us. This is someone who is a traveler, and he is going to bring a wealth of information and knowledge and has been a major inspiration. Before I do, I just want to let the people know who are listening by Internet. If you'd like to dial in for the connection and ask a question, you're more than welcome to. The number is 347. If you are dialing in and you'd like to join by the Internet, it is blogtalkradio.com/a-ripple-effect. That's blogtalkradio.com/a-ripple-effect. And we are just so excited about our guest. Now, we had a book signing on February 25th, so I just want to thank people for joining in on that and for sharing their good wishes and good support. Those who were able to come in live to Jersey City, that was wonderful, and we appreciate it. We're going to have pictures up on Facebook soon to share a little bit, and some people will be calling in for a live show as a recap, because I'd love to get the feedback for those who had a chance to listen and read the novel itself. So I think we might have our host on the line. Walt, are you with us yet?
Yes. Can you hear me? I'm on the cell phone
now. We sure
now.
can. Oh, we sure can. I am so excited. I am so excited that you're here. So everyone,
just one more thing. If I'm a BTR listener 024 on the Skype queue.
Perfect. I will keep an eye out for that, and I'll let you know when you can switch over. But you are live with us now.
Okay, great.
So, everyone, I want to let you know Walt Goodrich is, and he'll have an opportunity to tell you about himself, but I want to tell you a little about him. Walt is such an inspiration to me, and it's a really funny story how we met. I was supposed to be managing the entrance of a really important conference, and Walt was the keynote speaker. Now, I had read his book twice, Turn Passion to Profit, but never met him. So this very refined and elegantly dressed gentleman is outside just being cordial and polite and meeting people. And I have no idea this person is the keynote speaker because he's just so humble. So I kind of walk over, and I'm giving him the same spiel and script that I gave everyone else who was just attending the conference, and he's just so polite. He lets me finish my entire diatribe and takes a deep breath and looks at me. He says, "Oh, by the way, I'm Walt Goodrich." I wanted to faint right there. But he proceeded to lead the conference and give such a wealth of information that it inspired me to go on, and I launched our Point Event Planners. So if he inspired me in just those 5 minutes, and then for the conference, I hope you have a pen and paper ready, because he's about to, as they say, drop some knowledge. So, Walt, how are you?
I'm fine, doing great. Thanks a lot for inviting me. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. Tell us a little about what you're doing and how it's going, and just it's all yours.
Okay. Well, let's see. Where to start? I made sure I took heed of your advice not to rehearse anything beforehand, so let me see where to. What I like to help people do is to turn their passion into profit, quite simply. So the book that you mentioned that I wrote is called Turn Your Passion into Profit. And it's essentially a step-by-step guide to show people how to discover what it is they enjoy doing, their passion, their talent, their hobby, their gift, their special gift, and to find a way to turn that into profit. And by profit, I mean simply prosperity, a means of income, a means of survival. So you can also consider this a turn your passion into prosperity talk as well. So what I do is I do coaching. I'm sorry, go ahead.
If you want to switch over, if you want to switch to Skype, you're more than welcome to.
Okay.
I think we have you connected.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
Fabulous. So, Walt, I know people are going to have a chance to notice this as we continue chatting, but if anyone wants to go online as we're talking and order that book, and among others that Walt has published, where can they find that, Walt?
The best way would be the Passion Profit website, PASSIONPROFIT, passionprofit.com, and they can get the books directly from me.
Okay. So what inspired you to write that book? I mean, I know you've done a lot of travel. You were a part of corporate America before, and we had a lot of questions come in by email, internet, and we have some that are being texted to me now, and that seems to be the most popular question. What inspired you to write that book?
Okay. And as I talk, let me know if my connection is good or bad, because I know sometimes Skype comes in and out. But what inspired me to do it is several things. One, I've always valued freedom, and I've realized as I spend more time on the planet that my freedom is the absolute most important thing to me. And what inspired me to write it was a whole series of events, a whole ripple effect, starting from my first day in corporate America, where I realized beyond the shadow of a doubt that I absolutely hated the concept of working for someone else for a living. So
I understand.
Absolutely. So that's what inspired the first step. And the first step in that ripple was...
I think you might have popped up. You're going on a little bit, Walt. So
okay.
Could you start your last sentence once more?
What really inspired me, the first step was a book that I wrote in 1992 called Change the Game, which was a step-by-step guide to show young hip-hop entrepreneurs how to start their own record label and release their own music.
Wow.
That book, the success of that book is what actually helped me leave my civil engineering profession. So after that, I wrote the second book and a third and a fourth, and eventually stumbled upon and created a whole concept of turning your passion into profit. So it has been a process, it's been a journey that got me to the point where I feel confident sharing what I've learned about the entire process, from discovering your purpose to discovering your passion to creating a product and marketing it for profit. So to answer the question in an even longer way, what inspired me was the journey that I personally took from going from an employee to being a full-time entrepreneur or passionpreneur, creating my own my own income.
Now, I like your term, passionpreneur. I like that. You coined that, right?
Yes, I did.
I like that. I know. You know what's interesting is as the people hear you and learn more from you today, they will come to know this. But it's a natural thing that you always are reaching out and trying to find a way to help and encourage and inspire other people. But how did you know you were ready, truly ready to take that entrepreneur step and not look back to corporate America?
Good question. You mentioned from the first day that I started working in corporate America, I knew I didn't want to work there. I knew that I wanted to find some means to escape and be on my own. So from day one, I had always been looking for something to do on the side, a side business, if you will. So I had started a record label, I managed artists, and then eventually wrote the books starting in 92. So I had the plan was always there, the vision was always there, the goal was always there. But what actually tipped me over the edge was a workshop that I attended. And this, as you mentioned earlier, is where you and I met, Lisa. It was a workshop for a network marketing company that occurred on a Sunday, and At that workshop, I learned about personality types. I learned about goal setting. We learned about a bunch of different things that are necessary to establish the mindset for success in network marketing. And I remember vividly something that the presenter said at that workshop. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there's something of being in that room with dozens of other people who are also focused on making a change in their life. Something clicked in my mind, and I made a decision right then and there, that Sunday afternoon, that I would quit my job. So I took the Monday off from work, and I wrote my 2-line resignation letter. To whom it may concern, this is to inform you that I will be employed as a civil engineer with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Thank you very much. And then on Tuesday, I walked it into my boss's office. I handed it to him, and I walked away from corporate America and haven't looked back since.
Wow, that is courage. I love it. That is courage. Now, did you know that you were going to walk away and do something specifically, or you just knew you were not going back to that and you were pursuing your dreams regardless of which dream first?
Right. At the time, I was involved in the network marketing company, so at that instant, I had the idea that I would work that business as hard as I could to make my success in that venture. But I had also written a few books by then as well, so I also had another source of income. So in either case, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, whether it was doing well in the network marketing or whether it was focusing on self-publishing. So I had at least 2 things that I knew had potential, and then it turns out that I ended up focusing more on the self-publishing and the writing and the coaching, because that was more in line with what my passion really was.
Wow. So tell us about your passion. Tell us about the businesses and what you're doing now. What's exciting and what's new?
My passion, I realize, is helping people think. And one of the things that if anyone orders the Turn Your Passion into Profit book, what they'll come across is a formula that I've created to help you discover your passion. And the first part of the formula, there are 4 P's, the letter P, 4 P's in that process. And the first one is purpose, the next one is passion, the next one is product, and the next one is profit. So first step is to discover your purpose, find out why you're here on the planet. The second step is to discover your passion, what it is you're good at. The third step is to create a product, and the fourth step is to market it for profit. So what I did was put all that together in a formula, a strategy that people can use to go from from quitting their job or from discovering their passion and turning it into a business. So to answer your question, my passion is actually sharing knowledge and helping people. And I realized looking back that I've always had that desire, whether I was in elementary school or whether in high school, I was always tutoring other kids or helping other students to understand math or science or whatever it was. So one of the things that people often find when they start to look to their passion as a means of income is that they're whatever it is for years. It's something that they're wired to do. It's something that they came here on the planet to do. It's something that's in alignment with their very purpose, their reason for being here. So you never have to look too far to discover what your passion is if you know where to look. It's in the things that inspire you. It's in the things that you've always been compelled to do. It's in the things that people have said you're good at. It's in the things that have given you the most pleasure and the most satisfaction, whether you were trained to do it or not.
I like that.
And I'll take a breath and let you speak now.
Well, no problem. We have a bunch of questions coming in, and some of the people, I don't know if they anticipated the question and your strategy, but they were asking, so what are the steps if I'm considering entrepreneurship, and how do I know what to look at and what to consider? So I thank you for ironing that out. A question we have from someone who is online and on the phone is this a process, or does it make sense to revisit this process frequently because we're always evolving, or do you recommend people kind of visit it one time and stick with it? What has worked for you?
The caller or the listener has answered his or her question themselves. Yes, you should always. One of the things that people are sometimes afraid of is they'll say to me, "Yeah, but I choose just one to focus on." And the answer to the question, and what I always advise people is, whenever you choose a passion to pursue in order to start a business around, for example, you're not choosing that to the exclusion of every other passion you have. It is natural that you're going to have multiple interests. It's natural that people have multiple passions. All you're doing is focusing on one at this present moment based on who you are, based on the point in life that you've evolved to, based on the things that are important to you, based on what you see in the landscape in front of you. But the minute you take one step in the direction of your dreams, the whole landscape changes. You become a different person. Your options change and you evolve. So you would always want to make sure that you're in tune with who you are becoming, because your passions may change, the things that drive you may change, the awareness of who you are and why you're here on the planet is always going to change. So yes, it's not something that you're going to decide on once and commit to for your entire life. It's something that you're going to decide on now based on the moment now, and then who knows, a month to a year or even next week you may decide that based on what you've learned about yourself in the interim, you're going in a slightly different direction. And I'll just add one thing. When I first decided to pursue my passion, the thing that attracted me most was music. I had done a radio show in college. I had a passion for music, so I just followed that passion, and I decided, okay, since I've done a radio show and I like music, I'm going to pursue the music industry. So the first thing I did was start to design album covers for artists. That didn't last too long. I designed one album cover, and then the artist that I designed it for asked me to manage him, so I started managing the group. And then after that, we decided to start our own record label. And then after that, I decided to branch off and start my own record label. And then from that, I ended up writing the book to show young entrepreneurs how to start their own record labels. So it's getting to the point where I realized that my passion is actually writing and sharing information started from an initial decision to pursue music as my passion. But I was always on the lookout for the evolution as a customer, as the listener expressed in their question, so that if I weren't open to watching the clues and realizing that I am also evolving, then I would not have ended up more in alignment with my passion now, which is the sharing of knowledge and information rather than the actual production of music.
That is so exciting. And the lights are going on a bit crazy here, so I'm sorry for the delay to get back on the line, but two pending questions that are being asked over and over. First off, I just want to say you're listening to Walt Goodrich on a Ripple Effect Talk Radio, and Walt is a self-published author and an entrepreneur. If you are listening on the Internet and you want to call in with your questions, it's 347-8. And people are asking where they can contact you even after the show, Walt. So please let us know your email and website. Okay, my email address is walt@passionprofit.com. That's WALT at passion, which is PASSION, profit, that's PROFIT.com. Walt@passionprofit.com. And there are actually two websites that you can visit, but to make it easy, you can visit passionprofit.com, and there'll be links there that will also take you to my personal website, which is waltgoodrich.com. But to order any of the products and to see all the full range of products, the best site to visit is passionprofit.com. Great. So some of the callers are asking, do you conduct conferences and workshops still, or are there training and consulting that people can contact you about? I do coaching and I do workshops whenever there's a request or demand. As you mentioned, I've been traveling recently. I'm actually now in New York, but I spent the last 6 months in China and then on a little island in the Pacific called Saipan. Wow. So many workshops
as much as I'd like to. Actually, that's one of my favorite things to do is workshops. But if enough people got together in a particular town or city and requested it, I could work with people to put one on, or maybe just do a webinar or something. But maybe coaching might be the best option right now.
That sounds fabulous. Tell us about the travel. I remember one time getting an email saying, by the way, I'm going to be out of the country for a little while, but here's how to reach me. And tell us about the travel. What inspired you to take the trip and to go where it is you've gone recently?
Okay. Back in December of 2005, a friend of mine who is in the music industry had gone to Japan. And from Japan, the people who were hosting him in Japan took him to a little island called Saipan. That's Saipan. It's a little island near Guam in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's a U.S. Commonwealth, a U.S. territory. And my friend and I spoke in December of 2005 and at a party in Brooklyn. And he had the most amazing time on that little island. And just something in that conversation, it lasted about an hour, something in that conversation clicked in my mind again, and I decided, I'm going to go to Saipan. This was in December of 2005, and by February of 2006, I had my Saipan, gave my apartment in Harlem, and I headed out to the other side of the world to live on a little tropical island. It's something that I've always wanted to do, meaning escape from New York. No offense to the New Yorkers living on the call, but I'm originally from Jamaica, and New York, as wonderful and as nice and as exciting as it is, it just was never my cup of tea. So I wanted to explore the world, and something my friend said about Saipan really resonated with me. So I headed out there, and from Saipan, I was now closer to Asia, so I went to China for 6 months, went to Laos and Singapore, and I started a blog called Jamaican in China, which you can find at www.jamaicaninchina.com, and you can see the whole adventure from day one on that blog.
That's
so
fantastic.
Again, let me just wrap up. So the whole concept of Jamaican in China is, the juxtaposition, sort of like the Jamaican bobsled team. It's not something that you would normally expect, to see. So it intrigues people to see, what is this Jamaican doing in China? What is life like for a Jamaican in China? And it's basically a metaphor. It's my personal experience, but it's basically a metaphor for people to try the untried, for people to break free of stereotypical or limiting ways of thinking, somewhere people wouldn't normally expect you to be, doing things that people normally wouldn't expect you to do, experiencing life beyond the borders and the arbitrary lines that society often imposes on us and our thinking and our movement. So it's all about freedom. Again, everything that you'll read about me or any of the books or the coaching is helping people to achieve a certain level of freedom, whether that's financial freedom or whether it's freedom to travel, freedom to escape, freedom to live a healthier life. But I put it all under the heading of a concept I call achievable freedom, that we need to think differently about who we are, what we want, how we live our lives, and move to a different concept of what freedom is all about.
That is fantastic, and that's ideal because our next series of questions are people are asking how you prepared to address cultural differences, stereotypes, and mixed thinking as an entrepreneur.
As an entrepreneur, how did I prepare to, say that again, how did I prepare to?
How did you prepare to address cultural differences, stereotypes, and mixed thinking?
Okay. Well, as it relates to entrepreneurism, I guess one of the first things you have to decide on is simply that you're not going to be limited. I mean, if you understand that in order to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to think differently than 97% of the population in order to...
Walt, I'm going to ask you to repeat that one more time. You came in and out a little bit, and people
Right.
are going crazy that they didn't grab it.
I guess the first thing to decide is simply that you are not going to be limited by stereotypical ways of thinking. if there's a statistic that I learned many years ago when I was involved in network marketing, that 97% of the population retire dependent on friends, family, and for the federal government for their survival. Did you catch that one?
Nope, one more time.
Okay. 97% of the population is going to retire dependent on family, friends, and the federal government for their survival. That's a statistic that I learned when I was involved in network marketing. So what that says is, if you are going to differentiate yourself from the 97% of the population, you're going to have to do things differently than everybody else. You're going to have to be willing to think differently than everybody else. So you have to make the decision ahead of time that you are not going to be limited by stereotypical ways of thinking. You're going to have to monitor who you take advice from. You're going to have to limit your friends, because not all your friends are going to be thinking the same way. Your family members won't think the same way. So you have to understand that you are embarking on doing is not your typical path. So it's unlikely that you're going to get a lot of support from people, because they just won't be able to think the same way that you do. You may find that once you start thinking about living a different life, following your passion, you may find that your friends and family think you're crazy. You may think, you may find that there is this unusual strife developing in your primary relationships, because once you start to think differently about yourself and about life, you start to send off different energy. You start to vibrate at a different frequency. You start to resonate with a different way of thinking, and as a result, you're going to start attracting a different set of people and circumstances, but at the same time, you're going to start repelling. You're going to start pushing away people who do not think and act the same way. So there's a concept that I call the Reconstruction Crisis. And at the moment that you decide to do something different with your life, you're going to have to reconstruct, or your life is naturally going to start reconstructing itself. You have a house built on a particular plot of land. If you want a new house, you're going to have to level the old house, tear it down to the ground before you can build a house in that same place. And similarly, in your relationships, you might find that you have to jettison, you have to deconstruct some in order to attract a new set of experiences and a new set of people into your life. And that's sometimes one of the hardest things to do, because that often includes making a hard decision not to associate with certain family members or certain negative friends or certain people who do not see life and the future the same way that you do. And that's one of the things that keeps people trapped, is nothing more than their decision to keep associating with people who are resonating and vibrating at a frequency of failure.
Oh, I think that is fabulous, and that's the lines are going a bit crazy now, because I think you've addressed a bunch of the questions that were pending, that people were asking. How do you set boundaries? What do you do to manage toxic people, or haters and negatives? And in the network marketing, I think one of the takeaways, similar to what you're saying, that I learned, when you're going to venture and commit to your dream or your passion, those you think will, won't, and those you think won't, might. So I really like your term, the Reconstruction Crisis, because I guess that might be, and you let me know your thoughts, that might be kind of the indication of how committed you are as you see these things transform in your life. Are you willing to walk the road alone for a little while, or are you going to keep one foot in the past, and how willing are people to step out of their comfort level? So that's actually one of the next questions. Or I have a challenge, Mr. Goodrich, I have a challenge of pursuing my passion and leaving my comfort level. How do you manage that, or what could you share about that?
Okay, the way to manage it, I think I'm an all or nothing type of person, or a really black and white or cut and dry type of thing. There's no managing your comfort zone. You either are in it or you're outside of it.
I like that.
So
I like that.
The whole point of, if it were easy to become a full-time passionpreneur, if it were easy to leave your job and jump out on faith and pursue your passion and turn your passion into profit. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. The fact that it's not, it means that you have to differentiate yourself from everybody else. It is not the easiest thing in the world to do. You are, by the very nature of what it is you're attempting, required to step outside your comfort zone. That is the prerequisite. That's what this is all about. So there is no doing this the easy way. In fact, as I mentioned to you, when I quit my job, I had no savings. I was in debt. So the only thing that changed was my faith. The only thing that changed was the courage that no matter what happens, I need this civil engineering job. If I'm going to ever be a successful passionpreneur and pursue my dream, I have to just let this go. I have to quit. I don't have a safety net. All I had was the faith that I would be able to survive the ups and downs that I knew would come. And in my experience, if you know you have a back door, if you know you have a safety net, you don't always work as hard as you need to. So for my own success, and not everyone is like this, but this is for the people who think like me. I had to put myself up against the wall in order to create the success that I wanted to. And I knew I had to do that because as long as you know that there's a paycheck coming in at the end of the week, if you feel like sleeping in one day, you'll do it because you know it's not really that important. But if you have no other source of income and you know that the only way your rent is going to get paid this weekend is if you go out on the street and make things happen, then you know you have to do it. It all depends on you. So my answer to that is you have to step outside your comfort zone. That is where, there's a line that I heard that I like that says you have to be willing to go out on a limb because that's where the sweetest fruit is.
I love it. That's true. And I don't know if you remember this, Walt, but I think once we were talking, and it might have been during a break at one of the workshops, but we were talking about me, and I was very vague about what I wanted to pursue and what my dreams are. And I think you cut me off, and you said, first off, let me know when you know what you are going to do. And that just, I don't know if you remember that, but it just sat with me forever, and it challenged me. And then I went on to read a few of your books and a number of your books, and there's a recurring thread there that kind of challenges the reader to really make the commitment and no half-stepping. That's it. Like you said, you're all in or you're all out, just no half-stepping. So what could you say to the people who are kind of on the fence? And okay. I think they might be clinging to that full-time job or that.
Exactly. You made a statement about committing ahead of time. What I've learned is that you know the answer to a lot of questions that are required of you. So let me give you an example. One of the examples that we always used when we were in network marketing, if you remember this, Lisa, was, if you ask somebody, let's say you're putting on a party, and you say, okay, are you going to make the party, Walt? Are you going to come to my party? And I'll say, oh, sounds great, I'll try and make it. When most people say they're going to try to do something, it means they're not committed. If I were to say to you, Lisa, I have a suit, what you have to do to get it is to come to the corner of 34th Street and 8th Avenue at 3 p.m. on March 18th, 2013. What would your answer be?
I'm there.
I'm there. Not I'll try and make it. Not I'll see what the babysitter is doing there. I'll try. No, there's a certain level of commitment. I'm there. There's $1 million waiting for me, and all I have to do is show up. I'm there. Even if I have to walk from my house, even if I have to camp out the night before, your answer is different. You have the ability to attach that same amount of commitment to anything you do because the outcome is not under anyone else's control but yours. If you know that come hell or high water, you're going to be at the corner of 34th and 8th next year at 2013, you can attach that same level of commitment and determination and focus to anything you do. Yes, I will quit my job on March 19th, 2012, you can attach the same level of that $1 million suitcase commitment to anything you do. Most people don't realize they can do that because it's simply a matter of you deciding ahead of time, this is what I am committed to doing, this is what is required for my future, this is what I am going to commit to. I'm not going to see what happens, I'm not going to try it, I'm not going to see how it works out, I'm not going to dabble in it for a few months and see how it works out. No, this is something that I am committed to working because I refuse to live the rest of my life working for someone else. So this is the thing that I am committing to today, and you have my word on it, I will be there. So you always have that ability to attach that same amount of commitment. It's just that a lot of us are out of practice doing it, or a lot of us believe that the outcome is out of our control, so we think we have to wait for circumstances to decide for us whether the thing is possible or not. But again, just remember that if you can tell me where you're going to be on March 18th, 2013, with a certain degree of certainty and commitment, you have the same ability to do that about anything else that you are equally committed to doing.
That's powerful, and that might be even a little intimidating for a few people. I know, because that's some of the response we're getting, and they're saying, wow. So for the listeners, you're listening to Walt Goodridge on a Ripple Effect Talk Radio. If you want to call in, we have a little more time to take your calls and your questions, and I know a slew of them are coming in, but that's at 3. The recurring question, Walt, what is your contact information, email, and website again? Just for the new people tuning in,
okay.
And for those who didn't get a chance to write that down.
The best website is PASSION.com, PASSION, profit. And on that website, you'll see ways to contact me as well, but it's Walt at PASSIONprofit.com. And the best book to start with would be Turn Your Passion into Profit, or Living True to Yourself, which is a new, sort of like a prequel to Turn Your Passion into Profit that was just released a few months ago.
Tell us about that one, the Living True to Yourself.
Okay. About a year ago, a friend of mine asked me, how was I able to quit my job? And I told him, I said, okay, well, I wrote my 2-line resignation, and I walked it into my boss's office, and I walked away. And he said, no, I know what you did. I want to know how you did it. So I had to think about that question, and the only thing I could come up with that he was getting at must have to do with the thoughts that I have around that whole concept. So I decided to put together what I believe about the world, what I believe about life, what I believe about myself, what I believe about money, what I believe about success, that empowered me to be able to do that. Because I think the how how I was able to get up and walk away from my job, in addition to just being explanation, it has to do with a certain world view. So I shared as much as I could about what I think about what's important, what I think about life, and even what I think about food and diet and health and illness and people and love and relationships and future and time, to put it all in a coherent guide and say basically this is the way that I think about the world that helped me to live true to myself. So the book, Living True to Yourself, is sort of every conversation you and I could ever have about what I think about things in general that can help you to understand, so this is why he was able to do that, because he believes so and so and so. Oh. And maybe I might want to consider this belief system, because if I believe this so and so and so, then that would make sense that this would be the thing that I would do, based on that belief.
I appreciate that. I know one of the things I learned, among several of the things I learned from you, is treating my body in a way that shows I care about it every day.
Right.
It's what you eat, it's what you drink, it's how you think, it's how you rest and exercise and stay active. So if you can share a little bit about that, because some of the people are asking, how do I combine the mind-body to get ready for this entire new self-independent lifestyle?
Right. Okay, now that in itself is another 2 or 3 hour conversation, but I will say this. I believe that the whole journey that I am on is a search for truth. So in all aspects of my life, I'm looking for the truth to help me understand the world in a way that makes sense so that I can negotiate the ins and outs and the ups and downs of the world in a way that is in my best interest. And I believe that if you are on a quest for truth, that there's a real quest for truth and you're committed to learning truth, that there are certain things you're inevitably going to stumble upon in that quest for truth. So at some point, it is going to become clear, if you're willing to look truth in the face, if you're willing to hear the things that you may not want to hear, it's going to become evidently clear that eating, or let's start with something simple, that smoking cigarettes is bad for you. All right? And there's, as we move forward as a society, there's less and less debate about that. Back in the 50s and the 40s, people were telling me that smoking is actually good for you, but there's enough evidence and common sense, which is real important, for you to know that this could not be a good thing for you, and it causes cancer and it shortens lives. If you're committed to the truth about health, certain things are going to become beyond debate, and certain things are going to become, if you are really committed to it, you're going to have to just change things that are going to be maybe difficult to change, things that are ingrained, things that the society supports. And one of the things that I have evolved to is the fact that I'm personally a vegan. I don't eat meat. I haven't eaten meat, or I don't drink sodas. I don't drink anything in cans, or dairy or fish or meat or eggs or cheese. So I'm a vegan, and I've been that way since 1992. And that's one of the things that I believe about, is true about the world, is that my body functions better without the steroids and the pink slime and whatever else is in the meat. So I find that my mind is sharper, my thoughts are clearer, I have more energy, I have the stamina of a youth that I won't get into too much on that on your show, but so my entire functioning works better as a vegetarian, as a vegan. And I believe if someone is serious about success on any level, that they're going to have to incorporate that same search for truth and certain changes in mean anything. So a lot of people focus on simply making money, but they don't focus on caring their bodies. And of course, there's a dissonance there. You can't focus on success on one area of your life and neglect another area. So I believe that they're all connected, whether it's your health, whether it's your freedom and your career, your relationships. You have to be seeking truth in all those areas and not be prone to simply buying into what everyone else is doing simply because it's the norm in our society. There are a lot of things that are normal. There are a lot of things that are legal. There are a lot of things that are done in our society that are, beyond the shadow of a doubt, harmful, destructive, and fatal. And a lot of people are simply not willing to question and challenge those because everyone else did it, their family did it, that's the way they've always eaten, that's the way everyone, but I believe that there's a certain amount of courage that's going to be necessary across the board for you to address health issues in this search for freedom and prosperity.
It's so interesting because you continue to say something that leads to the very next series of questions. And so one recurring that's on our post and coming in, how do you balance whether it's toxic versus positive people, work versus fun and social, and how do you balance what you invest in a prospect versus someone that you walk away from because they're not serious? So people are asking, how do you find that balance among those things?
Right. Whenever I hear that question about how do you find the balance, it always sounds to me like they're saying, how can you still hang out with toxic people and be successful?
Yeah, well. Well, I have my own answer, but I'll let you answer.
And if you hear how I phrase a question, you already know what the answer is.
Right.
So again, if it were easy and possible to hang out with toxic people all your life and still be successful, then everyone would be successful. But the point is that this requires, and again, you mentioned that it might be intimidating, and I guess that's the point I've gotten to these days, is that, there are just certain things that I've come to understand. Now, again, you are free to create your own reality. However, I have found, and many other people who do self-help and personal development have found, that it is very, very challenging for you to hang out with toxic people and still maintain the focus and the energy and the drive and the enthusiasm and the courage to do things that succeed. While at the same time, I would never tell somebody what they can do and what they can't do, even if it is, because you are free to create your own reality. And if in your mind you believe it is possible for you to hang out every day with toxic, draining, soul-draining, negative people and still be successful, then by all means, feel free to do so and prove me wrong and create your own reality. However, if you'd like to follow what other people, myself, and I've followed people, I've listened to Brian Tracy and Tony Robbins and all over the years, who have said basically that one of the most important things is to align yourself with people who think the same way you do. And it's a very simple formula. And again, I learned so much when I was involved in network marketing, and this is something you might remember as well, is that if you want to become successful in real estate, who would you take advice from? Would you take advice from Donald Trump, or would you take advice from your broke Uncle Fred who lives in a trailer park? So it's very simple. You associate with and you take advice from people who are where you want to be. Because if you accept someone's opinion about a particular thing, you accept their reality and their lifestyle as it relates to that. I believe it would be in my best interest to associate with Donald Trump if I had the opportunity, rather than my broke Uncle Fred who lives in a trailer park. Because as well intentioned as he may be, he may just not have it all together to advise me correctly.
I love it. So everyone you're listening to.
Right.
No, go ahead.
No, so similarly, toxic people, I believe it's not in your best interest to hang out with toxic people, and you may have to accept that your mother is toxic, your father may be toxic, your brother may be toxic, your wife may be toxic, even your children may be toxic. The people who are discovering and pursuing your dreams are not the people you need to be hanging out with. Anyone can discourage you from this. And it takes true faith in you. People who have the faith in you and your best interest at heart see you're unhappy in your present condition. They will encourage you to do something different, not discourage you by telling you how hard it is or how you can't do it or how they weren't able to do it, but they should be your cheerleaders. However impractical it may seem to be, based on their reality or your reality, you gain nothing by listening to people who tell you that you can't do it or that it's difficult.
Right. And one thing I learned from... I'm sorry, no, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say another thing I did learn from Walt, and in the same networking marketing experience, is when the people are discouraging you, it doesn't mean they don't care. Sometimes people project their own fears onto you. Mm-hmm. But either way, I try and I learn not to dedicate a lot of energy or time into even figuring out why that came in that or where it's coming from, once I consider it's not in alignment with what I intend to do. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing that you've taught me, Walt, is what we verbalize. Be very careful about our self-talk. Right. Because I think sometimes we talk ourselves right out of the very thing we claim to want.
Right.
So
right.
can you Can you share a little bit about that? I know we're running out of time, but I'm trying to get as much in there as people can.
The basic rule of thumb is never say anything that you don't want to be true.
Yes.
Never verbalize anything that you don't want to be true. So you never say anything like, oh, this is too hard, or oh, I'm not good in math, or I'm not a good business person. If you don't want that statement to be true, then don't say it. Even if the reality is such that you are challenged in that particular area, then it is wiser to say something such as, I'm working on getting better at math. I'm working at getting better at being a good business person. Never say anything that's a final, that's a limiting absolute. Oh, that'll never happen, or I can't, I can't speak in public, or I can't run my own business. Never say anything that you don't want to be true. Only entertain thoughts and words of the things that you aspire to. If you can't say anything positive about a particular situation, then don't say anything at all. But stay away from people who are talking in limiting absolutes, as in, that will never happen, they will never let you do that, it's hard to do, So again, never say anything that you don't want to be true. Your words have creative power. And anything you send out there, you send out a vibration that will attract and manifest its equivalent. So you never want to say, it's difficult to control your thoughts, but you can do that too. But you never want to have a discussion with someone or say anything out loud that you don't want to be true.
Excellent, excellent. Is there an affirmation or motivational statement that you go to often that you're willing to share with us?
One of them that comes to mind is just something that helps me get up and do things. Like, for example, last night I was sleeping that I should send an email to someone on Saipan. Saipan is 14 hours ahead of us, so it's a different time zone there. And it's 2 a.m, and I could have waited until a decent hour to get up and send email. But over the years, I've trained myself to remember the fact that I can't get it back. Once that moment in time has passed, I can't get it back. And I've had enough certain things that happen where I wish I had done the thing that I had thought to do at that particular time that I had the thought, because it was a divine, intuitive gift that gave me the idea to do the thing at that particular time. And the fact that I waited till the next day, then the moment had passed. So I realized that once the moment in time has passed, that I can't get it back. So that's something that always pushes me out of bed at 2 a.m, getting on the computer and doing the thing I want to do, because once that moment has passed, it won't come again. So that's one affirmation that always helps me to get up and do things, stop what I'm doing and write things down, or get up and do the thing that needs to get done at that particular moment.
That is fantastic. We have a couple more minutes, and I want to have another opportunity for Walt to come back on, so we will discuss maybe, and this is a pressure hint, a time that Walt can come and be with us again. But before we ask for your information again on how people might reach you, what do you have in the burner? What's on the burner? What's coming up for you?
As far
Any to travel?
Yes, I'm going to be going back to China again. I had a wonderful time in China, and I went to a bunch of different cities, so I'm going back again this year. So there will be a Jamaican in China sequel to the blog, and I'd really encourage people to check out the blog. It's really a lot of fun, and you learn a lot of unique things about what it's like being Jamaican, which is a euphemism for black in China, and it's a whole other reality. And one of the things that is really interesting about that experience is, a lot of people are afraid to travel. A lot of people are afraid to do a lot of things because of what they fear is going to be the outcome. And one of the things that I found so really unique and refreshing about being in China is that it's not anything like what you might have been led to expect if you follow the mainstream media. And you will be able to see pictures and my journal entries about what things are like there. and it's really a whole different reality that you're not going to see anyplace else. So yeah, to answer your question, travel is coming up, and I'm focusing more on marketing and getting the word out about the books for the next books in the works. But right now, I'm focusing on turn your passion into profit and living true to yourself.
That's fantastic. And when you're ready, Walt, we would love to have you back to talk more detail about both or either book. That's entirely on you, but that's an open invitation extended whenever you have availability. So you're listening to Walt Goodrich on a Ripple Effect Talk Radio. And for those of you who didn't get a chance to jot it down, Walt, how can people get in touch with you and stay in touch and learn about what you're doing?
The best way would be to sign up for my newsletter. I have an Achievable Freedom newsletter. It comes out every Friday. And the best way to sign up is go to passionprofit.com, and you'll see a link for downloading a free ebook. And the way to get that free ebook is to sign up for my newsletter. So you'll see the link that says sign up or join or download the free ebook. Sign up to my newsletter, and then every Friday you'll get an email that says where I am or what specials there are or what events are coming up. So that's the best way to contact me, is to go to passionprofit.com and sign up to the newsletter.
That is so fantastic. I am so honored, and I thank you so very much for taking the time to speak to us and share with us. Several people, I know you did not get a chance to answer and address all of your emails and all of your questions and your calls as you're holding. So if you'd like to contact Walt directly, again, Walt, I'm sorry, what is the email address?
And the email is, Walt at passionprofit.com. Walt at passionprofit.com.
Excellent. And a question again, as you mentioned, those 4 points of purpose, passion, product, and profit. And the callers are asking, where is that noted in which book, and where can they buy that again?
Right. That one, the entire process of turning your passion into profit is in the book, Turn Your Passion into Profit, and that is available in ebook form, even in Kindle and Nook form, as well as paperback form. And you can always go to Amazon.com and type in my name in the search box, Walt Goodrich, and you'll see all the books that I have to offer there. And it's also available as a 6-CD audio as well. So the book you're looking for that has the entire process, the entire passion to profit process, is entitled Turn Your Passion into Profit by Walt Goodrich.
Oh, thank you so much, everyone. You've been listening to Walt Goodrich, my guest, Lisa Bullard, on a Ripple Effect Talk Radio. Any words of wisdom to leave our listeners with, Walt, before we sign off?
As we said before, you are in control of your reality. You are ultimately ship any way that you want to take it. So I encourage people to discover what their passion is, to find out what their purpose is in life, and turn it into a profit, because there's no one stopping you. There's no external reality that's stopping you from doing it. The power is all within your ability to create with a certain amount of faith and courage.
Thank you so much, Walt. Everyone, that's Walt Goodrich. His email is walt at passionprofit.com. Walt, thank you so much for being our guest, and I hope you will give us an opportunity to hear more from you and about your books and all of your activities. So maybe we can get on your calendar before it all blocks out for the year. Not
a problem. If enough of your listeners email you and tell you that they'd like to have me back, I'd be more than willing to come back again. Not a problem.
You got it. We're already hearing that. So thank you, everyone, for listening to a Ripple Effect Talk Radio. We'll be on next Sunday at noon, and you can stay tuned on Twitter and Facebook for that information and those details. Again, I want to thank our guest, Walt Goodrich. Thank you, everyone, and have a great, great day.
Thanks a lot, Lisa.
Thank you, Walt.